In this second installment of this series of videos on inexpensive and fun things to do on an overlanding trip, I'm going to talk about enjoying the night sky. I don't mean hardcore astronomy. I mean an inexpensive way to enjoy the night sky, especially when your adventure takes you to an area largely free of the light pollution that obscures interesting stars and planets in less remote areas. My approach to enjoying the night sky involves 2 or 3 simple tools. An app that maps the night sky based on your time and location, an inexpensive pair of binoculars, and optionally a strong laser pointer. But before I go too deep into those subjects, I should introduce a guest expert, Dr. Jack Horkheimer. I put a couple of links in the description for some YouTube videos that include old episodes of his show Stargazer. They're a great way to appreciate features of the night sky.
Confused about the cosmos? Can't tell a planet from a star? Then give us just 5 minutes and we'll show you what they are. Jack Horkheimer, Stargazer, tells you all about the night sky and the biggest show of all, the universe. And now, this week's episode.
The mystery of the wandering stars.
While Jack Horkheimer's show was a tremendous tool in its day, today there are excellent apps for your phone that allow you to identify interesting celestial objects based on the current time and your current location. I use the app Planets. Over time, one of the most important tools that I use while overlanding is my iPhone. So I now have a folder on my iPhone to list those apps that I use in overlanding. Within that folder of apps, I have the app Planets. While the Planets app has a number of useful features, I primarily use it as a star map. I can open the app. It will adjust itself for my time and location, and I can hold it up over my head or down in front of me, orient it to the compass directions, and it will show me the horizon and every visible celestial object that has risen above the horizon at that time at that location. So why would Dr. Jack Horkheimer or I recommend a pair of binoculars versus a telescope? Part of it is simply optics. A telescope can give you a very sharp and focused image of a distant object, but an inexpensive telescope necessarily makes that really, really small. So if you want a big field of vision with the ability to, say, discern the rings of Saturn clearly or see Jupiter's red spot, very quickly you get into a pretty expensive telescope. And if you've ever done it, you know a big part of that is setting up the telescope to point at the object. So you look for the perfect place to set up your expensive instrument. When you're overlanding, chances are you don't want to tie up that kind of time. So a pair of binoculars gives you a much broader field of vision, and it's ideal not necessarily for picking out detailed aspects of one celestial object, but allows you to look at the broader sky and pick out things like constellations, a planet's position in the sky, which at least for me, starting out in the hobby of stargazing or just looking at the night sky, is really how you want to start. You want to start simply by having that perspective of knowing what's out there, where Orion might be in the northern hemisphere this time of year. Those are the kind of things for which binoculars are best suited. Now I could tell you all about different styles of binoculars, but I've had these for so long I have no idea what it would cost to reproduce them. I'll put some links in the description, but they won't be terribly informed. You can go out and just read reviews of inexpensive binoculars. I got these from my late father-in-law decades ago. We used them outdoors for a variety of purposes. We'd be out in a nature preserve, and this would be a great way to look at a bird. Maybe have a little Audubon book so you can identify them. So these I already had, and they're perfect for what Dr. Jack Horkheimer recommends and what the Planets app helps you to do. It just allows you to look at a broad field of the night sky and start picking out the objects that the app can identify for you. So again, in this case, this is just 10 by 50 wide angle. It says 376 feet at 1,000 yards, etc. Those are just some specs that mean very little to me. And binoculars, if you remember playing with them, essentially in this pair right here is how I go in and out of focus, and then I adjust out and in to match the separation of my eyes. So it's an extremely useful, easy, accessible way to start exploring the night sky. Now, one thing I can't demonstrate for you here on camera, because I don't own it, is the high-power laser pointer. The best illustration of this, I wish I could show you pictures or video from it, but it was years ago at a Boy Scout camp. So we went out on an essentially moonless night where there was no light pollution, no light clutter. We were out in basically a hayfield in very remote rural Illinois, led by a knowledgeable scout camp counselor who had one of these powerful laser pointers. And he loved mythology. So he would stand there and point at a constellation, allow us to focus our eyes on it, because there's pretty much always enough dust in the air that that laser pointer will light a, so if you could draw a line in the sky pointed to that particular area of the night sky, and then he would tell us what that constellation was and would explain some of the mythology behind it. So if you're out with your kids or just your significant other, whomever, having that laser pointer is great, because once you start to learn your way around the night sky, that laser pointer can be a fantastic tool for illustrating and explaining where someone should cast their gaze with or without the binoculars. So again, just one more installment in this series of some fun, inexpensive things you can do when you're overlanding. Cheap set of binoculars, the Planets app, and maybe a laser pointer, and an individual or a group of people, a couple, a family, can have a great time learning more about what the ancients found so fascinating, because usually when you're out overlanding, you can actually see the night sky because of the lack of light pollution. All right, well, it's a little chilly tonight here, but I thought I could illustrate the app here with the night sky. So you can see evening, and you can see straight up there above the horizon, you can begin to see, I don't know if it'll show up in the GoPro, but you can begin to see Canis Major. Now, still again, light pollution. There's city street light. The moon, I don't think is out tonight. I think it's already set. It was out earlier. But again, you can see the S for south, and you can see a few bright stars. There's Canis Major now. If you stay outside long enough, you can probably start to see, like, there's east, and you can just see, I believe that's a star in Cancer that I can just barely make with the naked eye. But that is how you use these apps to observe the night sky. Now, it's a little chilly, so I'm going to be a wimp and run inside. Hopefully you found this video useful. I'll pull together a few more, just giving some simple and inexpensive activities to enjoy while overlanding.